Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 396. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak.
What's up?
Matt Zellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. This week we've got the latest in video games, including Gran Turismo 5, other arcade games from the past, and the delay of a long-awaited household favorite. All of that and more after this short introduction. How are you two doing this week?
There it is.
I was.
That's the one.
Oh, okay.
That's how it is.
No, I'm good.
Mark, I did not notice your shirt until we started recording here. Is that a PS1 horror demo disc t-shirt?
Oh, Haunted PS1. Yeah.
That's what Haunted PS1.
Just says cool games.
I really love that mascot, and I really want that Tales from the Crypt style show featuring that guy. Matt, baseball's back in season.
Yes, I was actually going to say, I don't know how many more weeks I'm going to be able to say this because the Orioles are a bad team, but they are above 500 right now and are in first place in the AL East at the record of 4-3.
Is above 500?
Yeah, the winning percentage at 50%, but, okay. There's no percentages and win percentages, so 50 over 500 is that mark.
Gotcha.
I won't be able to say that next week. That's why I really want to emphasize that right now. 7 games into a 162-game season.
Are you planning on, before jumping into that, are you going to close out hockey as NHL joins Game Pass here soon?
What do you mean close out hockey? Like play it, or
like before you transition into full baseball mode for the summer?
Oh yeah, no, we're going back and forth. Cavs got a good team again. I don't know how. They're all old as shit, but Ovi's still scoring goals left and right, and they're all playing well with the new coach. So now I'll mix between the two, and then when the playoffs come for hockey, I kind of focus a little bit more on that. And then once that goes away, the full summer ride of baseball takes me into football season.
That's the one. Mark, how many Apple Arcade games are you still playing 1 week later?
Let's see. I minimized it down to. Why did I put it in the folder? Where'd it go? They disappeared. There they are. 4.
Oh wow, you're okay.
I haven't been as dedicated to them lately, but yeah, Oregon Trail, Tycho Pop Tap, Clap Golf, and Fantasian. Yeah,
the Tycho Pop Tap is the one. That and Clap Golf are the two that I'm mainly got. I tried a little bit more Fantasian, but it's just not sticking with me.
Yeah, it's not like a. I don't know how to describe it. Your brain just has to be turned off.
Yeah. Speaking of 1 week later, we've had 52 weeks since the launch of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1. Looking back, what is your kind of lasting memory of the... Mark, first, you never went back and played through it, correct?
I've never played the remake, no.
All right. So then I guess this question is more for Matt. What is your lasting memory of the game?
The combat. Damn, that was so good. I've said it a few times now at this point, but even the side quests that were just completely just lifeless almost at times, it just led to either a unique battle or a tough enemy that was like a mini boss or something like that. And when that happened, it made that boring side quest worth it almost.
Yeah, that even too many Stan Lees, you can be forgiven because of how good the combat was in that one. This is going to sound very generic, but when I think back of my memory of that game, I just think this is a really good game. That's what's in my head. This is a really good game. It was just a video game. It was just it was super good. The combat was really great. The story was engaging enough to keep me going through, and yeah, like all of the like boring side quests that could have been or were otherwise boring were easily forgiven because of how much fun it was to actually play and like go on that journey with the characters. We obviously gave that Game of the Year 2020. Since then, Mark, do you feel like it's still deserved of the Game of the Year title?
I think as an overall experience, sure. I think it still suffers from some little tropes or details that a lot of games do. So I think it's easy for us to overlook them. But if somebody was to be more critical, they'd probably make a big stink about like JPEG doors and the same NPC standing next to each other in some areas and like that kind of thing. But like,
yeah,
that doesn't really break the game for me. You know, like it's whatever. I'm more like the gameplay, I think, is its biggest point, and like the cinematics and whatnot. Like I think, and that story, like I think all that together, like those are like your three strongest points for that game. So I mean, sure, even from afar, like I think it's still well deserving, especially just its history, where it came from, and where it is.
Yeah. That I keep thinking about going back to the original 7 now that I've got all this PS1 stuff on the brain. Speaking of going back to Final Fantasy, I guess this question's for both of you, but what was or what will be the next Final Fantasy game that you played or play or will play?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is I will play Intergrade when that comes out. But I'm actually really looking forward to 16.
So you haven't played anything since 7 in that universe?
No. Nope.
Mark?
I am also curious about 16. But that's not exclusive, right?
I don't remember now. There was that whole weird thing where it was like,
I mean, even if it is
PS5 PC, but then it wasn't PC, and
yeah, I mean, if there is any exclusivity, it'll be temporary, I'm sure. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. For some reason, I thought about Type 0 the other day.
Dude, me too.
I was like just looking at characters. And I'm like, which ones would I enjoy? And then like I went and watched the ending to the game just because. Not a good ending, but that secret ending. That game was going places, and I don't think they're ever going to visit it, and that's sad because we could have got like a Neo like Final Fantasy game. I feel.
That would have been cool. So Type 0, that was part of the 15 universe, right? I think it's part of that, like, Nova Crystallis, whatever the heck, weird Nomura stuff that was going on.
Yeah, I just don't know, like, when it takes place. Because, like, the story of that game is, like, people having, like, their, like, memories wiped. And, like, only, like, these kids have, like, something about them that can, like, fix it. I don't know. It was weird.
Right.
It's, like, some weird school for the gifted type thing.
I keep almost buying that game. But then I remember that Square is putting all of the things into Game Pass, and I'm like, I should just wait. I think it's part of the Fabula Nova Crystallis Final Fantasy series of games, which
I just assumed that was all of them.
begins with 13.
Oh.
It's 13, Type 0, 13-2, Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy Agito? I don't know what this is.
That might be the Japanese name for Type 0.
This is it's a mobile game that came out, I think, only in Japan.
Because that sounds familiar. I don't know if it's related.
And then 15, and then Final Fantasy Awakening, which looks like it was also, it was here, I guess, but maybe not for long.
I still kind of want to play
that whole
15.
13-ish thing. Speaking of 13, that was kind of where I was at. When I finished 7, I really wanted to go to 13 proper, because I never played 13 proper. I just played Lightning Returns and didn't even play much of that. And I remember, I think I launched Lightning Returns at some point last summer, and the combat's not there, man. Like 7's where they finally realized that good combat that they had been trying in 13. They tried in 15. And after having it, now I can't go back to other things. But I think I might. Maybe this is the week for Type 0. Because now you bringing up Type 0 is the second time that it's entered my brain recently. I don't know if I want to do. There's an. I have to look into it. I don't know that it exists. But I believe there was a team who received a cease and desist that they were working on an English localization of the original PSP game. That might still be floating out there somewhere, but there's it's also on everything now, modern.
Yeah, I forgot that like the PSP version had ad hoc multiplayer.
Ah, yeah, that's cool.
So like you could go with some friends and just square up and like beat the shit out of things, and like no other version has that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it has any co-op or multiplayer for the other ports.
Probably not.
Which is a bummer. Because you can
is.
tell like that game is focused on that.
Yeah. Final question on Final Fantasy VII Remake. When's part 2? Give me a year.
2022, but late.
Wow.
I could see it being teased this year. It gets delayed after its initial 2022 release, and it'll be 2023. Like early.
I was going to say late 2022, early 2023, but I want to be definitive and have hope.
Do we get it before or after Metroid Prime 4?
Before.
Agreed.
I think it's after.
Do we get it before 2077?
Final Fantasy.
This is a bad transition into asking Matt, how has your week gone with playing Cyberpunk 2077? The hot new video game that everyone is talking about.
Yeah, that hot new patch 1.2 is the one that everyone's talking about. All right.
You weren't waiting on the patch specifically.
No, I was waiting on the new computer. It just so happened that patch came right, I think, like the day before the computer showed up in my apartment. So, I don't know. But we're playing it. That's the key here. And I think I'm having the most fun because I'm actually role playing in one of these games. Usually, I have a character that's kind of maybe not so close to the chest, but you know what he would be making decisions I would make. I've thrown out the window, I think, for the first time ever in an RPG. I am playing as a co-host here, Mark. His Polish heritage has taken over my character. And as we've been playing, I've decided, or I've found out, that his Polish heritage also has a little bit of Raiden inside of him. And he's hacking and slashing away at his enemies in a weird Kojima twist.
Stolat.
Metal Gear's not in the future. It's in the future of like the 19th century, and it's all in the past. That's now the present, but still the past.
Exactly. Samurai.
Just as Kojima would explain it as well. But all right. So I'm having fun playing it like that. I'm playing a completely different style I never would. Just like, you know, I would even say like in The Witcher and Deus Ex and games like that, I usually try to talk my way out of scenarios. I think it's always fun when the dialogue system's almost as good as the combat system in a weird way. But in this, I'm just like, no nonsense. Like, oh, you have a problem with me? I'm okay. Yep, Blade, and you're dead. So I'm having just a lot of fun just creating mass chaos all around Night City. The game's still buggy. It's not great. It's like, I don't know what the hell is up. Like, I am playing at full ass max settings on the 3080 that I have. Ray tracing all the way turned up high. I'm getting, I would say probably at its peak, I'm getting 60 frames, but probably when stuff happens, it probably drops. It's still above 30. I don't have a good eye for the between 30 to 60, but it's somewhere floating in there, probably around like 45, 50. But, like, I don't know, there's just weird, like, lighting textures from time to time. I've had so many people in cars with me and their eyes glow. Like, their eyes are, like, super white and bright all of a sudden instead of, like, their natural eye color. Yeah, it's just really weird stuff. I keep looking into the mirror in various points of the game. Sometimes it's forced. And, like, like, your character is there, but he's, like, washed out into the background of the mirror. Like, he's not standing out. It's, like, really bizarre. Like, some of the stuff I'm still running into months after this game comes out. And there's been a couple times where, thankfully, it's only been a side character. And thankfully, because of the way I'm playing, I don't necessarily need them. But there's been a couple characters in a side quest or a quest line of some kind that I needed to talk to, or I could talk to for additional, like, intel or whatever, and they just wouldn't, like, register the thing, because there's really no, like, there is, like, a press F to interact, but sometimes, like, the character and the way the dialogue works, like, it just automatically goes when you get close to them, and you don't lock into them like you would in the Fallout or anything like that. It's like you can move away, and when you move away, like, you can cut off their dialogue, and it's kind of like a rude thing to do, but if you go back, it will reinitiate the dialogue stuff. And I think that is bugging out the system more so than anything else. I felt like if you just, like, interacted with a character and stay locked onto them, a lot of these issues that I'm running into with character dialogue would go away. But yeah, I mean, nothing's broken the game for me yet, but if I was trying to play a specific way, it may have resulted in loading a save to see if it'll fix the issue. So I'm, like, really hoping that it doesn't happen in, like, a main quest line in a way I want to play. Speaking about ways I want to play, I can't be the fucking silent protagonist like in Grand Theft Auto 3 and just wreak havoc. You have to talk to people. You have to act in certain ways you don't want to. That's not fun when I'm trying to just slaughter and cut the limbs off all these people with my blade. I mean, it's fine. Like I said, it's fine. I understand you have to progress the story and things happen, but sometimes it's the way V's, like, the way they voice V, like, he gets so animated at times, or it's like, it's not, like, I understand, like him being animate should be one of the options, but it shouldn't be, like, the only option to get out of this conversation. And for a game that was being, like, the next evolution of RPGs, it's not doing well in this department, and that's probably one of the most key items in an RPG is having a dialogue system and a character system that lets you play the way you want to, role playing. So it's not the end of the world for me, but, like, people that are taking this more seriously than I am, like, I can see why they are bummed out with the way this game plays or, presents itself at times. So unfortunate in that department, but I'm having fun. I think the gunplay is all right. It's not great, but it's good enough for this game for what it needs to be in an RPG. Keep in mind, I also think The Witcher 3's combat is not good either, and I still highly enjoy that game. So I think this is, like, a step above it, but, of course, these are two different types of things. First-person shooter, melee, or whatever you want to call it, versus third-person kind of action-adventure blade combat. But, I like the gunplay. Some of the guns, I think, as you get further along in the game and you can actually get items to customize them and make them really weird, I think there's a lot of potential there. Not as much potential as in, like, a Borderlands or anything like that, but still I think there is some potential for some unique weapons later down the road. Like, I know there's at some point I can, like, enhance my blade with, like, thermals. I think I could put, like, shock value to it at some point. And I'm sure there's, like, all kinds of special weapons too in the world, and I have a feeling those we're going to have some really weird characteristics to them, and I'm kind of excited to find them as I progress along the way. Character creator sucks. I never really rated character creator until I was trying to make Mark, and we texted that day a little bit back and forth to decide on some of the characteristics, but no, like, it needs sliders. Like, if you're going to have a robust character creator, you need sliders of some kind. Like, when MLB The Show has a better character creator than you, like, that's not good. So yeah, I that's a missed opportunity for this game. Me and Mark did notice that it may have added some new styles of things. I know we didn't talk about like faces and stuff a lot, but like when me and Mark were texting, we were talking a lot about hair, and he claims that there wasn't a hairstyle that we ended up picking before.
It might have been, but like my memory's just, I forget so much about that game now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time in the character creator initially the first time I did play through this, but I don't remember that either. But who knows? We might be wrong, and we might be forgetting. But yeah, no, that character creator not good. And then the one thing that I do find interesting, I think it's the thing that's kind of keeping me going, besides this weird role playing and combat driven thing I found, is the setup to this game. Actually, I mean, like, Night City is fine. Like, I'm not like, I don't care about that city yet. Like, they keep talking about like how it's all like not run down, but it's very corrupt and everything like that. Like, Night City's not the thing that's keeping me going. I think it's the actual story. I think like the Johnny Silverhand being inside your brain kind of thing is, I think, kind of cool. I don't know if it's unique, but I think it's really cool. I think the whole setup to how you get there is pretty cool. Now the after part of it, where like the security guard for, I'm keeping this generic in case people haven't gotten there yet, but like there's a security guard that's involved in a murder who is trying to like kind of clear his name and prove someone's guilt, who is guilty, but there's no good way to prove that they're guilty, and so he is kind of blackmailing you into helping him find evidence. I think that's an interesting setup. Like, it's kind of weird why the bodyguard is using you as a motive. I don't know. I can see it both ways, but I think it's not the strongest point of the story. But the whole play Act 1, you kind of die, and then it leads into the interlude, which seemed random, but when you realize how they've roped the interlude into like your character's death for Act 2 to start, I thought that was really clever, and kind of kept me going. Keanu Reeves. I don't think he's bringing anything like super special to the game. It's better than Peter Dinklage as the dude in Destiny.
As the ghost.
Yeah.
Is it distracting having Keanu there, though?
I don't think it's distracting. The thing, if anything, the distracting part is that I'm playing a lot like a badass John Wick, like no questions, just shoot people. And it's kind of weird having, maybe he is distracting, because now I just keep thinking, there's two Keanus in the room. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe it is more than I'm thinking about it. But yeah, like I said, I don't think it's anything special that he's bringing to the table. But like I said, it's not a failure either, like Peter Dinklage was. So,
sure.
Yeah, like it's an average experience that I'm having fun with. I think that's where I'm at with it.
That's all you can ask for in a game.
Right? I played a couple hours. I played a few hours. I've done a lot of side quests after the kind of game got started. After the interlude, there's some like narrative to kind of start the game almost. And there's like 2 or 3 main quests that you can do. I haven't done any of them. I've just been doing a lot of the side stuff. And just riding around Night City. I acquired a bike, so I have a means of transportation that's a lot of fun. I don't have a good tracksuit for Mark yet, but he's got some badass glasses that make him look like Raiden almost. And then he just rides around kind of 50 Cent style in some like jeans and a bulletproof vest.
Right on.
How is that 50 Cent style?
Didn't he always wear the bulletproof vest?
He did wear the vest. Sorry. Yeah. You're right.
And didn't he wear it in both 50 Cent games as well?
That checks out.
I think so, yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so that's Cyberpunk. I'm probably going to talk a little bit more about it next week once I dive into it a little bit more than I have. But I think that's the consensus of where I'm going to land. It is a fine game that I'm having fun with because I'm playing it in a unique situation.
I tried Outriders this week, and that was kind of how I walked away from Outriders. Was like, I know exactly what this game is, and there might be some surprises along the way, and maybe I'll play it, maybe I won't, but I think that's the difference between like buying a game versus Game Pass, where you've already invested, one, the PC, but two, the actual game purchase, so it's like, yeah, I should probably play it. Where Outriders, I'm like, it's Game Pass. There's dime a dozen, right? Have you guys looked at Outriders at all? Just side note.
I haven't like tried it out, but I'm getting like a Gears of War vibe from it.
Yeah, it's like Gears meets Destiny.
I was gonna say, Matt, I believe it's a Digital Foundry video, but like they kind of broke down what settings to best use for Cyberpunk, because the max settings for a lot of those things doesn't do much. Like there's not much difference between a max or high or medium setting for some of those things. So you might have a slightly better experience with adjusting some of those.
Yeah, like I said, this was like besides Warzone, but at points in Call of Duty, I'd rather have frames than the visual fidelity. Yeah. I was just trying to see, like, all right, let's fucking max out this new rig and see what it looks like. But yeah, I might go back to that just to see, because like I also don't think like the game looks good. Like I'm not gonna say like it looks like shit. It looks really good. I don't think it looks like the best I've ever seen a game. Like I feel like at times seeing Destiny 2 on Joe's 5K monitor, looks better than Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I mean, there's like even like looking at. I've been looking at a lot of PS3 games lately. There are some PS3 games that I think look better than. I mean, I haven't seen Cyberpunk in person, so I can't say for sure, right? But like, I think it's a lot to do with art direction and scale and those types of things that can dictate how good a game looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not even using ray tracing, and when I played Cyberpunk, I think it looked great, especially at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does Saints Row 4 look with ray tracing turned on?
Well, if that was a feature. I never played these games before. Always saw them from a distance. I have a friend who loves them, and she got me into playing this one because I heard there's like a co-op thing, but we had trouble getting that to work properly. I think it's something on her end with the computer, just like always crashing or something like that. But the character,
her friend unplugged the N64 controller.
Yeah. But that character creator, speaking of, that has sliders everywhere. You can adjust like everything on your face has a slider just about. Just like your cheekbones, your gals, your jaw, your chin, your lips, your nose, your nostrils, the bridge to your nose, like your forehead, your whole back of your head, like everything like that is there. The hairstyles were actually pretty good. I found one that looked pretty close to mine because I was also trying to make my Slavic self, and what I end up doing, the only thing you couldn't adjust was like the body type. Like you're ripped no matter what. So I couldn't make like a scrawny dude. So he's like still kind of ripped.
Aren't you a superhero in this one?
You do get powers, but it's more like I think it's like a simulation kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's like a little bit of Crackdown, a little bit of Matrix, a little bit of Aliens. So like I have like slender arms, but my shoulders are so wide that it looks so awkward. It's just like his chest, there's like this big gap between my arms and my torso, and you just look weird. The voices for it, you have 6 to choose. Well, 7. You have 7 to choose from: 3 male, 3 female, and Nolan North. It's just straight up Nolan North, like it.
That's good.
And then like they all have like a pitch shifter for the voice, but it's not a good shift because you can hear like the reverb and like the weird like roboty sound when you like shift someone's voice poorly. Like it just sounds like like you're double layered. I don't know. It just didn't feel right. So I have like this weird like British accent. I kind of sound like Jason Statham. or something like that, or I guess more English. And then, the game is very jokey and whatever. Like, they kind of did like a Mass Effect 2 thing in the beginning where like you don't really see yourself until like an accident happens and then you make your character. The gameplay feels pretty nice. When they were doing it was like third person over the shoulder in the beginning. That was cool. And then you had to stop this nuke or like missile from launching, so you jump on it, and Aerosmith starts playing. I don't want to miss a thing. As you're climbing, and
I like that you're smiling because I was worried about this one because some games of an era, I feel like the humor does not still hold up the way that it did, but I could tell that you're having fun with it.
It probably doesn't. But just because it's so silly and dumb, it's like you can't help but
no, I think that works. Like, but there are certain things like I forget which game it was, but they're like I remember like even Guacamelee 1 had some like very specific like internet humor posters and things in the background that I feel like if I saw them now I'd be like, oh right, that thing, yeah, okay.
I took a lot of screenshots of that game because of all the game references.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. But like I wonder how. I was, when you said Saints Row 4 this week, I was like, oh, I wonder how that holds up.
Yeah, like, if you're not taking it seriously, which I don't think you should be, that's not the right mindset for this game, you'd probably be rolling your eyes at, like, every other second. Because, like, this game hits, like, all the tropes of, like, of like, comedic stuff. Like, you can expect it. It's kind of predictable. Touches a bit on, like, the Borderlands style of humor, but it's also, like, not bad. Like, it fits for this game. So after you blow up the missile or whatever and you get damaged from it and you make your character and you become the president of I'm pretty sure it's just the president of America. I don't think it's president of the world. Then alien invasion happens, takes everybody. Then you get forced into a simulated city. And like before the city, you're in another simulation that's in the 50s, and it starts off like a typical like 50s like sitcom. You have like a sweater vest, a bow tie, and glasses, and like you get up walking, and your dude just starts doing like a little like cheerful like hands in front of you, like little bounce in your step, and then like you slide down the banister, and then like the TV show name appears, and then you go and eat pancakes. It's like the tutorial like of the game. Then you have to drive through the city, and then you realize shit's not right. And then like you realize you have to like break the system to get out of it because you have an outside person helping you. And then so you get out of like you shoot all these cops and everything, you kill all the people because they're not real, and you're just causing mayhem. And turns out that 50s era is like your character's worst nightmare because you can't stand like that type of structure and order and like not being able to be chaotic. So you just had to like use a rocket launcher on everything and fight the superpowered sheriff. And then it takes you into the city. And then from there you can kind of do like a GTA kind of thing where like you can just explore the city a little bit, and there's like little mini missions and stuff all around. You just got to like go to them. And that's kind of where I stopped, but I went to like a clothing shop to see if I could get that tracksuit, my famous tracksuit. I got the pants, got the shoes, couldn't find the jacket yet. I think that is a different store, and I can only find the one so far. So I don't know if more areas will open up as I like progress. So now I just have like a white tank top, the track pants, the shoes, and have a wristwatch, I have some rings, and I just have like a thin silver necklace. Like he just looks super stupid, and like a porn stash, and I have like a nose bandage, and he's just very rude. He's just a very like I don't give a shit about you kind of person. That's just his personality. I did not pick that. That just comes with the voice. The driving in that game, pretty solid. Like the gameplay overall, like this feels tighter than like any GTA game I've played. Like it's just very responsive. Like no car really. Well, I haven't driven a lot of cars, but the ones that I did drive didn't really suck. Like I didn't have to worry about trying to like drift or brake properly on everything. It just knew when to turn and not fuck up. If you're setting a GPS route, you don't have to look at the mini map exactly. Like a bunch of arrows pop up in front of you before you need to make the turns to make those proper turns to get to where you're going. I don't remember if GTA ever did anything like that, but I knew they had the pathway set up. You had to look at the mini map to whatever, but to have it in front of you in real time, I think was pretty cool. And
you talked about character customization. How much? I guess this ties into Cyberpunk also, but how important is it in a game like this to be able to make who you want to make to you guys?
I think it's pretty important for. I mean, character creation overall. If you're gonna implement it, there has to be a reason for it. You know, I mean, if they obviously want you to be able to express yourself in some way. Will it affect the game? No. Does it need to? I don't think it necessarily needs to either. I just think it's cool to be able to make something whatever you want. And the better thing that this does better than Cyberpunk is that none of this is permanent. You can go and change it at any point in the game. You're not stuck with what you did in the beginning.
That was my follow-up question is, do you prefer it when a game locks you in from the beginning or makes it makes it so that you can change it whenever?
Yeah, and like you can even like change your gender too, like at any point. Like it's all of this is like surgery in the game or whatever.
Right.
And that's cool because usually with character creators, they do a bad job with. Some of them do it right, and I think Cyberpunk did this right. I think because I believe you could do different lightings to look at your character in different lighting situations, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember that. Are you talking about in the main character creator?
Yeah, was there? Did it? Have
I don't remember that.
Maybe it doesn't.
Or
okay, well, I know,
or it's not well presented. I'll say that because I spent some time in there.
Okay. Yeah, my memory's just awful with that game. But I know Final Fantasy XIV does it, and I know Phantasy Star Online 2 does it. You could put your character in different settings so you can see how your character looks. Saints Row did not do that. So, but I think it makes up for it by being able to fix it later, because sometimes when you make a character in that screen, they look cool, but then once you go into the in-game scenery, you just look like a mutant, like what happened? And then like you realize you messed up something because of the lighting. So it's cool that you can go back and fix it. But yeah, I don't know. It's like from my time with it, it's cool. I wish the co-op stayed a little more stable, but
yeah,
I like it so far.
And then final question: are you playing the remastered version or like the original release? Because this is one that they've kind of put back out a few times, right?
If it is
on PC, it's probably just
like if it is a remastered version, it doesn't signify that in any way. There's no subtitle or anything that says that.
Maybe 3 was the only one that got remastered.
Is that what I'm thinking of? I just remember.
I know one got remastered, or like one of them got remastered,
yeah.
And I think it was 3. I don't remember 4. I know 4 had that DLC, Gat Out of Hell or something like that.
Yeah,
I remember playing that. That was like a free on PlayStation Plus or something at one point. I played a little bit of that, but I never played Core 4.
Also, what's cool, if you made a character in 3, you can transfer them to 4.
Oh, that's cool.
You can export that immediately. And hijacking cars is my favorite, because if you're sprinting, you just drop kick through the window. And
that didn't change from 3.
Yeah, like the combat is just like, it's so over the top. It's great. Like everything is so exaggerated. You punch people, they go flying. It's the greatest. Feels good.
You think they'll make another one of those? Do we need another one of those?
It's tough to put one of them out in today's culture.
So, like, 1 was like, it felt like a GTA ripoff. Everybody was comparing it to GTA because it's all about like gang wars and stuff. Yep. And then I think by 2, it started to try to find its own identity. And I think 3 hit the nail on the head. They found what they want to be. 4, I think, just kind of exceeds upon that, like just builds upon a little more. And then after that, I think they started to like trim down things and kind of, I don't know what happened, but
they did that game. They did that multiplayer game that bombed.
Was it Agents of Mayhem?
That sounds right.
Yeah, just like they tried doing a little too much, I guess. And I don't know. So I think the biggest focus was just being able to like make somebody wacky and go out and just do whatever.
Yeah.
That was probably their strongest point, and I think people just wanted more of that, and you're not getting that. So if they make another one, I think it should touch back to those roots at least.
Go back, yeah. Well, Saints Row 4, a nice little surprise for the week. Not unlike Pac-Man 99, a little surprise in the middle of the week that I'm still hoping and holding out hope for Donkey Kong 40, but Pac-Man 99, pretty fun. Did you guys play this?
I did not get around to it.
It's installed, but I haven't played it yet.
I'm alone. Well, it's weird. It's what you expect because it's got the 99 thing, so it is very much Tetris 99. But it combines some elements of like Pac-Man Championship Edition DX.
I noticed that in the trailer.
So essentially, what you do is you play Pac-Man, but on the left and right, two lanes on the Pac-Man board, there's a string of baby ghosts. And when you walk over those or waka over those baby ghosts, they attach themselves to another ghost who's entered the maze. And then I guess the idea, and this is one of those things where I think, not unlike Tetris 99, in the weeks to come, more strategies will surface. But so far, what's been successful for me is kind of get the baby ghosts attached to one of the ghosts and lead them all a certain way, eat the power pellet, and then you kind of championship DX style, championship edition, just run down all of the ghosts. Instead of it sending, because I expected this was going to send like ghosts to the other board, it actually sends like Pac-Man outlines. So if you get ghosts dumped on you, they're just like just the outline of a Pac-Man, and you can take them out and you just walk through them, but they slow you down. So that's the trade-off. Is like, if somebody dumps a bunch of ghosts, it's not ghosts that are chasing you like the rest of them, because that would be impossible. But it's instead a bunch of teeny Pac-Mans that are going to slow you down if you don't eat them quickly enough. So it's got a hook to it. I think that the thing that sucks with Pac-Man compared to Tetris is Tetris, you kind of are watching everything happen, and you know when you make one wrong move, I'm going to lose. And maybe it's just I'm not as like fine-tuned with Pac-Man as I am Tetris, but with Pac-Man, I feel like every time I've lost, I've been like, no, can I just, man, like it's always no, I didn't mean to do that. He shouldn't have gotten me kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun though. It's different speed, and I'm a bit worse at it than I am at Tetris. I think the highest I've gotten, I think, is 26th or something like that. And that was a fluke. Like that was, just dumb luck that time. Every other time I'm like in the 50s or something. I'm pretty bad at it. But it's fun. The one weird thing I found is in Tetris 99, the more you play, the more you unlock in-game currency to unlock themes. Or they would do those weekend events where you can unlock a theme. It's $1.99 a theme. Or you can buy the deluxe pack of Pac-Man 99, which I think was like $40. And it gets you themes.
$40?
I looked at it really quickly. Like there's an eShop tab that was like, click here to view more details. And I was like, what other details are? And I was like, oh, you have to buy the themes. Got it. And the themes aren't even that cool. They're like other classic arcade games. So it's like, if you want your board to look like Tower of Jiraga, go for it. Which, I mean, we all do, but.
Oh, isn't there like 20-some like themes?
There's a lot, yeah. So that's probably where if you figure if they're $2 a piece.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is this staying? I missed that detail. I'm assuming this is staying if you're paying $40 for it.
Yeah, I didn't see an expiration date for it. So it is one of those things. It's a free game for Nintendo Switch Online members. The paid version, I think you still need to be online because you have to play online.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun. I think it's good. I don't know that it quite replaces Mario 35, like, because this comes a week after Mario 35 shut down, and maybe it does. I don't know, because I feel like I will play this as much as I played Mario 35, which is kind of like every now and then when I scroll through the Switch and go, what about? Oh, right, that thing. I'll play that. Yeah, give it a shot. I think.
Yeah, I'm more enticed to play Pac-Man than Mario, but that's me.
Yeah, I am too. I don't know if I want to sample it, but Mario 35 didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I liked that, but it was. I'm not mad that it's gone. You know. Deadly Premonition 2 will be gone soon from the Switch. That's a bad transition because it's not leaving the Switch. It's just joining the PC. This year, apparently, according to an annual report for the publisher's parent company, Thunderful Group, Deadly Premonition 2, A Blessing in Disguise, will be coming to PC via Steam at some point in 2021. My question for you two, is Thunderful Group the next acquisition of the Embracer Group?
Sure.
Sold.
Makes sense. Although the Embracer Group will eventually swallow the entire gaming industry, including the newly bonded together Xbox and Bethesda.
Yes, that will soon be Embracer Group. They will. You've been embraced. You think that's what they say at their corporate meetings?
Yeah, like a DX, suck it, you know?
Yeah.
They just get a bear mascot coming in, just hugging everybody.
Embrace this. Embrace Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, because it's coming to every platform known to current existence on June 24th. Now, Matt, you've been counting down. You've been really looking forward to a new Alex Kidd game. So, are you excited that there's now announced PS5 and Xbox Series X versions?
Can't wait. It's, gives me something to play on the PlayStation 5, There
you go. More on that later. But if you need something to play on your Dreamcast right now, maybe you can fork out. Actually, you can't fork out anymore. This got pulled. But so fun timeline this week with Castlevania Resurrection. This was first teased back in November 1998. It was intended to be a reboot for the franchise for Dreamcast that would star Sonia Belmont, who was previously in the Game Boy game, and a new character, Victor Belmont. And this week, a French Dreamcast preservation website shared video of the game's prototype version that they got their hands on. The prototype was then listed on eBay with a list price reaching at least $10,000 before it was pulled from sale. I know that I think Thursday, Ben texted me in the morning and said, do you want to split this? And at that point, it was at $2,000. And I said, yeah, dude, I'm good for it. And then he wrote back a couple hours later and said, it's at $10,000. You still want to split this? And I said, yes, dude, we can put the house up for it. But I checked yesterday because I was putting the show notes together and it's been pulled since then. So, it looked like one of the PS2 Castlevania games, except, a couple years earlier on Dreamcast. It was weird because the guy was like filming with his phone in his hand and then playing with his left hand, so he couldn't actually do like the whip animation because he's just moving. But from movement and like the way the character moved on screen, it looked just like Lament of Darkness or one of those PS2 ones, in a way.
He must have sold his tripods to get that game.
Yeah, he had to. Oh shit! Had to do something. Hopefully, what happens with that game is it gets donated to a. Well, I mean, they are a Dreamcast preservation website, so hopefully they dump it and everyone else can try it because that would be a lot of fun. We need a digital archive of that, like a digital archive of the Electronic Entertainment Experience. Yes, you heard that correctly. E3, with a quietly renamed E3, returning this year in an all-digital format from June 12th through 15th. In a statement from the Entertainment Software Association, quote, an all-virtual E3 2021 will engage video game fans everywhere, with early commitments from Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, Ubisoft, Take-Two Interactive, Warner Brothers Games, Coke Media, and more to come. E3 will take place June 12th through June 15th. I mean, sure. It's nice to have everybody centralized again. I don't know. I don't know what Warner Brothers is doing there, because everything they've got keeps getting delayed. B, I really don't know what Konami's doing there.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a Parodius collection. I've been playing some Parodius lately on the PSP, and I would like them to put out Parodius.
Well, they
on
can
the Switch.
show off Pro Evo there.
If they show up with just a soccer game and nothing more.
What else do they have, dude?
All right, here's the question. Which video game is going to get Silent Hill stuff in it announced at E3?
Pro Evolution Soccer.
You get to kick a pyramid this
Yeah.
time?
It's instead of a soccer ball, it's a pyramid head.
It's perfect.
New game mode.
Um,
And then Rocket League's also going to have a mode where it's the pyramid instead of the ball. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's perfect. Yeah, I don't know. Mark, does it surprise you that E3 is returning this year?
No, I guess it was a matter of time. I think, like, even if like they weren't going to do it, somebody else would have done something very similar. So, and I know like Jeff Keighley just took care of everybody last year, and that wasn't exactly E3 by any stretch, but it was still something good. So it's not going to feel too different from just have an all online digital event, just watching directs and state of plays or whatever, what have you. It's just that.
You might not have a state of play. It looks like Sony is not on the list here, as well as, I guess Bethesda's part of Xbox now, right? So that they could just show up there, but
I guess I just meant just like.
No, I know what you mean. But I want to point that out. But yeah, I think you're right. I think like for us, this doesn't change much, right? And I wonder what this means. The plans are to bring the show back to a physical, actual convention event next year in 2022. But I wonder how much this affects that even, or does it matter?
Yeah, I still wonder if they're going to use a stage.
This year?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do some sort of... Keighley did that last year with some of his stuff, right? Where he was doing... Well, he did that for the Game Awards, right? But...
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that we get... I feel like around that time last year, as we did, the Summer Game Fest was a nice thing to have, considering where everything was last year. But I think coupled with delays in development and difficulties with development right now, and the fact that it is digital and seems like there's less of a stake, do you think that the announcements here will be as impactful as they have been in years prior? Like, does Nintendo come out with full bag of rupees?
I don't know. I think we're just in that era of games now where things just take way longer than what we're used to, just because of technology, and everybody wants to make the most realistic game ever. So things get... even if things get announced, it's just going to probably be followed by unfortunate delays. So it's just like, why even announce it in the first place if you're just going to keep delaying? I think we'll still get some cool shit, but I just don't know if it'll be as much as usual.
I think you just go the route of what Sony did. Sony, what year? God, or what years where they couldn't get a release date to hit in, it was like 2 years consecutively or something like that.
2018 was the weird year, and then 2019 they didn't show up at all.
Oh, well, I meant like just their video game releases and trailers and stuff like that. There was like a 2 or 3 year period during the PS4 where they couldn't hit a date that they ever announced. But like
2017 and 18 in that.
But like what they ended up starting to do was either show games later or not even put a date or even a year behind a game. And I think you're going to start seeing more of that. Like, I think in an era where you see so many leaks and things like that, I think sometimes they want, I think even if it's early in development, I think developers and publishers rather get that game out into the know with their own controlled media. Sometimes, even if the game is still 2 years out, because they don't think they can hold a secret. Look at Ubisoft every year with Assassin's Creed and whatever else they make. I think you're just going to see a lot of trailers, and I think you're going to see some good punches, like, some good stuff that surprises us, but I just don't think you're going to see any years or any even windows or anything like that after some of these trailers.
That's a good point. You made me just think of something, too. The aftermath of all this is what also has me a little concerned, because they like to try to, like, keep hype going for, like, years, and it's like, you just can't. Like, the time between announcing a game and releasing a game, there's like a little window where we'll all be excited and want it, and then it doesn't come out in that period of time. You're just killing it. You're just like, hey, remember this thing? Are you still excited? It's like, dude, you gotta, this is like year 3. Stop.
I feel like you have perfectly set me up for this next news story, which is that Deathloop has been delayed yet again, this time from May 21st to September 14th after its initial delay from holiday 2020. Again, like, that's another perfect example. Like, we saw that game, I don't know, it feels like 3 years ago at this point. I'm sure it was less than that.
Can't stop
But
dying.
we saw that game, and you see it and you go, oh, cool. The folks who made those Dishonored games are making something different. That looks neat. Then you see it a second time, and you're like, oh, right, it's that game. Okay, yeah, now they're going to show us kind of a little bit more about what that game is. And now we've seen it way too much, and it keeps getting delayed. And if they show us another trailer at E3, I don't know. I don't know.
I never been put more off of a game because of marketing than this one. I don't know. I even avoid the trailers at this point. But sometimes you can't because we're watching the event and it's like right there. It's like, oh yeah, here you are again.
Yeah. I think Wonder Book had better press than this.
I think my two favorite narratives that come out of this are the conspiracy theories. One, Joe, was the one you posed that PlayStation, Jim Ryan had it delayed so that way he can hold it as an exclusive for longer. And then the one I saw a lot more on Twitter was that Xbox delayed it. They used their new influence and delayed it so that way PlayStation has nothing coming out in the summer, which is probably true besides Ratchet and Clank. So here we are.
Yeah, with Project Athia now.
Oh, and baseball. Oh, wait, never mind. I was on Game Pass.
You mean that Xbox game, baseball?
Yeah. Xbox's baseball.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is as good of a time as any to talk about Sony and its Blockbuster problem. Not the video rental place that is now a Mission Barbecue. No, I'm talking about a new report from Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, which has outlined the timeline of an internal studio called the Visual Arts Service Group, the unsung heroes of many of PlayStation's recent titles. The timeline kind of details its years of support on Sony titles, all the way to its plans for developing an original title. The report tells the story of how Visual Arts Service Group supported titles from God of War to The Last of Us Part 2, and it extends all the way to reveal that Sony Bend was denied the opportunity to work on a sequel to Days Gone, instead being assigned a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog. As of last month, following fear of being absorbed into Naughty Dog, the departure of some of the studio's top leads, Sony Bend have finally been given the green light to work on a new franchise of its own. It was kind of, we remember a couple months back we talked about those two kind of original Sony Bend members who had left the company and didn't really know why or what was going on there, other than we keep seeing these kind of shifts happening at PlayStation. Now this report goes more into detail that they wanted to make a Days Gone 2 because of the long development time and because of the it did end up turning a profit, but it took a while to get there, and critical reception was not high of Days Gone. Therefore, they denied the option to make a sequel, instead put Bend, a team at Bend, on a new Uncharted game with Naughty Dog people overseeing it. Those folks leave, then they say, hey, we're worried that you're just going to end up making us Naughty Dog, another Naughty Dog
C,
studio. So,
Team B, yeah.
They've been taken off the project. That Uncharted game has been moved internal to Naughty Dog fully, and they're working on that there. A small group within the visual art service group was working on a remake of The Last of Us. Initially, they wanted to remake Uncharted, but found that it would be too cost effective to do without actually having money to do so. So they started smaller with a remake of The Last of Us, since that would be easier to do than Uncharted. Pitched it internally, and the remake has since moved in. They basically, this support studio said, we want to do our own thing. They start making this Last of Us remake, show it to Sony. Sony says, great, let's give it to Naughty Dog and have you guys support them on remaking it. So apparently Naughty Dog is making a new Uncharted game and remaking The Last of Us, which is not even an 8-year-old game. The report also goes on to generally the main tone of the piece is that all of these things originate from a desire internally for Sony to focus specifically on this is a quote directly from the piece, exclusive blockbusters at the expense of niche teams and studios within the PlayStation organization. Bloomberg had previously reported that Sony had informed developers it no longer wanted to produce smaller games that are only successful in Japan, and then we're seeing more of this trend happening here. To me, this is sad in so many different ways. Like, Sony's a hardware manufacturer who also has been a first-party publisher of games, and I like the Uncharted games with diminishing returns, to be honest. Like, the more they've put out, the less I've been excited about a new one. And The Last of Us, I mean, even The Last of Us Part 2, as it was being released, I was not particularly excited when I ended up buying it and playing through it. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed that game, and it's a very, very good, great video game. But they are by far the least interesting of what I look at from Sony first-party studio stuff, right? And I've got no interest in a Horizon sequel, no interest in God of War, and that's me. I know that I am not the majority, but I think it's great that these things exist. The reason I always loved that these things existed is because people who wanted those got them, and we also got the Patapons and the Mod Nation Racers and all of the other smaller weird things that PlayStation did a lot out of Japan. But also, we saw Mod Nation Racers was a San Diego studio thing, right? That they just decided to do one day. So what I hear from this is that Sony's more interested in becoming another Activision or EA with a few big titles that produce a lot of money in profit in return, but they are also the games that unfortunately interest me the least. My concern as we look at this, and as we look at kind of a lot of what's been happening with Sony in the last month, and this is you got to forgive me because I feel like I've been very dramatic in the last month. I've been way whatever. So this is going to be very dramatic and whatever. But I feel like we are. Is PlayStation 5 the next Dreamcast? Is where I'm at, right? Not in a way that they fail so badly they need to withdraw, but is PlayStation 5 the point where Sony says, hey, you know what? It's really the games that make it, right? The hardware profit margin is not high enough, and we could make a lot more profit if we have these great studios and these great properties that we then turn into HBO shows, that we then turn into PC ports. So do we hit that point where Sony just looks at it from a pure numbers game and says, we don't need to have the hardware sales to do this? I don't know. Sorry, I dominated this portion of this, but what are you guys thinking about? I guess, what do you think about the report itself? The idea that there's just a push for blockbusters.
I mean, the blockbusters. I mean, without seeing it coming, you could see it coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think of the Sean Layden, best year, best E3s
the
of
Year of Dreams.
Yeah, so that was what I was looking for. Yeah, the Year of Dreams Part 1 and Part 2. every one of those conferences was remembered for the heavy hitters, like the orchestra playing God of War in, and the Crash Bandicoot remake, the Last Guardian finally getting a release date that they actually, later on actually hit. And Final Fantasy VII being announced. Think of all the big hitters that get remembered there. I think, when you go back, you can probably look and be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then some of the smaller stuff. But I just think the industry is trended towards that way for so long, and now I don't know, it's so weird seeing Xbox and PlayStation flip-flop after 5 years. Xbox just kind of catering to whatever, with Game Pass probably being in the front and the end of those trailers, but sure. They're still producing smaller stuff, and this PlayStation just saying here's 5 games this year, and that's very much what's happening. It's 5 games this year for PlayStation 5.
Yeah, it doesn't, it doesn't even feel like, it doesn't feel like 5, right? Even before, I feel like the 5 that they would have felt like an important 5 or a defining 5, and it doesn't feel like that. I don't. Mark, I feel like you align more in the side where I'm at, where I'm I'm not really. How do you feel about a Sony blockbuster future?
I mean, yeah, it's I can't say I'm exactly surprised, but that only makes me more disappointed. That
yeah,
because I want it to be kind of proven wrong, I guess. I don't know, to just focus on that, I think you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot in the future. I think that just sounds like more stress all around to everybody else, and there's just going to be I sense that there is going to be a big lack of motivation or creativity if you're just going to keep producing these same franchises until they're dead, basically. I don't know, but then if I'm trying to spin it positive, and maybe if consumers react in a way, maybe this could make them want more of their smaller games to become this big blockbuster treatment, and then Sony will get overwhelmed because they can't do all the focus on 5 games, and then they have to make smaller games again. So you might get another Twisted Metal in that sense.
Right.
I don't know.
Really? I want to, I don't think this is Dreamcast by any means, because this console is selling quite well. I think is it still outselling Xbox at the current moment?
Oh, it probably is. I meant more just that, this would be the last piece of hardware we see, because especially, right, the other side of this is, I think that Microsoft, we have a couple other stories that have kind of influenced where I'm looking at this. But we have a story here from Video Games Chronicle, an interview with current Nintendo president Furukawa, where talking about the future of Nintendo and focusing on creating new game series as well as long sellers such as Mario and Zelda. This quote here: "We are constantly building up ideas for the new consoles the market is expecting, but there are some things we can't do now to technology and cost constraints." And I think about stuff like that. I think about where Xbox has begun to take itself, because Xbox has made all these moves to acquire these studios, to get Game Pass to become a household name, but more so, they're also quiet. It's quiet because it's not there yet. It's not on iOS. It's not on PC. But when Game Pass rolls out, when cloud gaming rolls out properly, you will get to a point where, I remember it was probably a decade ago at this point, where Greg Miller talked to Shuhei Yoshida on an episode of the IGN PlayStation podcast and said, are you guys with Gaikai, the acquisition of Gaikai when that happened, as you're building this, are you preparing for a future where there is no box, there's just a TV, right? And you download an app called PlayStation and all of your games pipe to it. And at the time, Shuhei was like, huh, what are you talking, how could there be no bot, right? But that I think is the real future that Microsoft is planning for with Game Pass. They will sell you a box, just like I think PlayStation will sell you a box, but also they really want to sell you the service. And I'm not seeing that from the other side, from PlayStation. And I'm also seeing Nintendo just extremely dominate the Japanese market. Like, Switch sales are huge in Japan still. It seems like all of the indie momentum that was previously on Vita and PS4 is now right on Switch. Right? It left PC, went to PS4 and Vita, and now is on Switch. And I feel like when I say, is the PS5 the next Dreamcast, it's more in that, do they exit sheerly out of, like, they don't need to sell a box anymore.
I think we're getting there, but we're getting there, but we're not even there yet as the gamers, right? I'm going to bring up like 40-year-old Susan and 7-year-old Donna and 10-year-old Timmy. Like,
see, but
the casual audience is going to still need a box 6-7 years from now.
I don't know though, dude. Like, that casual audience, if you said to them, "Hey, go to Target, go to Best Buy, buy this controller, take it home. The controller comes with 6 months of Game Pass, and it's already on your TV." You know what I mean? Like, if we get to a point where smart TVs or any other, everybody has a Roku or an Apple TV, everybody has one of those things. Like, we could hit that point where through that, you know what I mean? I think what Microsoft's long-term goal is to make Game Pass as synonymous with Netflix.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I just don't. 6 years from now, like when we start thinking next generation, that's crazy to think about already. But like when you start thinking about that, I think there's at least one more box on both ends. Yeah. And I think we've seen it from Sony time and time again. They're slow to pivot. They're slow to catch back up. When they catch back up, they usually do it with a fire up their ass and usually do something a little bit better, but they're slow to pivot. And I have a feeling that they're going to do one more box than is necessary, and that's going to be the thing that makes them turn into Sega.
Yeah, like, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if PS5 was the last system to have a disc drive.
Oh, yeah,
I think future on, it could probably just be just all digital, just like a more glorified PS TV kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. It's just I think there's one more like PC inside of a living room device that plays video games, and maybe next generation. Yeah, maybe next generation. Like, they start with boxes, but like, then PlayStation eats a lot of crow and they go to do like their PS6 Pro or whatever the hell that is, like their mid-cycle thing that all the consoles are going to start to do. And maybe that's when they start losing a lot of money and realize that the hardware game isn't what it used to be, and they pivot out of it. But I'm just saying, like, I personally think Sony's always slow to this stuff. I think Xbox is going to beat them to the punch, and Sony's going to have to play catch up like they have done, I feel like, twice with Xbox.
Yeah.
And back to the Blockbuster thing for a second. The only real thing for me, just like personally, I never really cared about Sony first party games. I think I've only ever been interested in like one or two at a time. Yeah, it's always been about the third party support, if anything. That's usually what swayed my opinion on a system. Like, I mean, I know like Xbox has Halo, and I love Halo, but there are other stuff I can probably live without, honestly. Like, it doesn't.
I'm with you. Like, there's not a ton of stuff on either side that I'm particular. Like, Nintendo has it, right? Sega had it, but I think that's a good point, and that's another thing that I look at Nintendo for is the PlayStation used to be, and still predominantly is, kind of synonymous with third-party exclusivity. Particularly from the Japanese market. You get a lot of Japanese developers who develop for PlayStation and PlayStation only, and it's not for any contract or agreement. It's because they know the game will sell there. But when you look at the Famitsu sales for week over week, and it's all Switch games,
Switch is a new Vita,
right? Yeah, and like obviously Monster Hunter is Monster Hunter, but Monster Hunter being at the top of that sales chart, Monster Hunter used to be a PlayStation franchise, right? And was PlayStation 2, PSP, and then pivoted to Nintendo. And World obviously was the most successful, and that was the two main consoles plus PC eventually. But seeing where I'm very curious to see what starts to happen if Nintendo can put out hardware that can not rival but get close to, right? If they can get something that outputs to 4K and closes the gap for developers, I wonder what this looks like, right? Like I look at something like Nier Replicant that's out in like a week or two, and Nier Automata 2017 launches on PC. I'm sorry, on PS4. Eventually gets a PC port. Eventually a year later gets an Xbox port. Nier Replicant launches day one, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So already, like, a shift has happened in that way, and that's got to come from something, right? It's got to come from them seeing that sales on those other platforms were important enough to warrant porting it to PC and Xbox for day one launch. And I wonder how many other games of that caliber that otherwise would have just been a de facto PlayStation exclusive start to go to Switch if Switch becomes competent in that regard, or Xbox also. I think Xbox is going to be a tougher time because 2DS is still outselling Xbox in Japan. Wow. In terms, like, literally, like, last week, the 2DS sold more than the Xbox did.
Flashcards. Flashcards.
Yeah. But, I think Xbox still has a tough time ahead of it for Japan, but, I think about fighting games, things like that would just default to PS4 or PS5 in this case. Where do they end up?
I think Xbox is going through their experimental phase right now because everything that was PlayStation is now on Game Pass. Yakuza, Final Fantasy. Right. I mean, Nier wasn't Game Pass, or still is, right? Yeah, it is. It was on PC. Yeah. I think they're looking at the numbers they're doing on Xbox as like a risk-free thing, and deciding where to pivot next. And hell, I bought Yakuza on Xbox this time around. Yeah. It's because I wanted something to play on it. But like, they're gonna see that number. They're gonna see I didn't buy it on PlayStation. They also saw that I didn't want to wait for it to come to PlayStation because remember, it didn't come day and date. It was a little bit of an exclusive. So I think things are more even than what we think. Nintendo just needs some power in their console, and this is a different thing. Ironically. But I don't know if Nintendo aims for that. Like, I know they want I'm sure they want a Switch that runs at 4K just to keep up with modern times, but think of the Nintendo's never competed in this market since GameCube.
Right. But they also haven't had to, right?
And they still don't need to, and they're catching up and not doing better, right?
Right.
So why chase the fish when you're already in front of it? You're already catching it, like
Blue Ocean.
Yeah.
I want to say one other thing about that Sony thing. Why is everyone reporting on that Last of Us remake? Who the fuck cares about that?
Nobody asked for it.
I don't want that. I love that game to death, and I don't want to see that unless they do multiplayer.
I just don't know
what
multiplayer. I just don't know what different you could do to make that like stand out.
Why don't you just pull Last of Us 2 Part 2 up to PS5 because you haven't done that yet?
Why don't just remake Last of Us 2 to where people don't hate it?
They'll still find a reason to hate it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I'm very curious to see, one, if that project completes and releases, and two, how it sells.
Yeah, I hope people speak with their wallets on that one.
I mean, look, I'm not going to be the first one. I'm not going to be the one to say here that I'm never going to buy this because I probably will end up buying it. Let's just be real. But like,
why though? Why would you
that's
buy
what I was going to say. Like, I have to see something though. I'm not just re-buying this game. This is one of those games where I played it one time and I had my fucking emotional journey with that game and I'm done with it. I'm probably going to be the same way for The Last of Us Part 2. I don't have like a big inclination to replay that until like it's this multiplayer expansion or whatever the fuck they end up doing with that. That's when I'll revisit that game. But I don't... Updated visuals, the haptic triggers could be cool, but like, just do that with The Last of Us Part 2 if you want to experiment with like PS5 development or whatever, because that's what they did with The Last of Us Remastered. They did that because they wanted to experiment on development on the PS4 after developing the PS3 for all those years. So,
or like make a new game. I don't
and
know,
not
man.
Uncharted. God, no. Uncharted 4 has like the perfect ending. Let that ship sail. Like,
well, I'm sure that what they're working on is probably a Lost Legacy style thing. Right, and you get to let other characters like. And I get it, right? Like, all of this stuff makes perfect sense business-wise, right? If you're looking at this from a business, they have the Last of Us HBO series, they have the Uncharted movie, right? So what better way to tie into both of those big properties that are going to be mainstream than brand new video games or brand new remakes, adaptation, whatever. I get it, but it's still just like, it's boring, right? It's like,
I do think Naughty Dog has so much to offer besides The Last of Us and Uncharted at this point. I do want to see like a new IP, and I was really hoping that PS5 would spell like new IP, like PS3. Well, I guess they didn't really do anything for PS4. Yeah.
There's so, I'm sure that they have 1,000 different game pitch documents internal to that studio. I don't know.
I think that's why I'm so excited for Horizon, because that's like their newest fucking franchise, and I'm excited to see like what like a core idea from the first one, a cool core idea. All right, let's see what they do in the sequel now, and go for. I think that's why I'm excited for that. Like the God of War Ragnarok, like I like the reboot, but like I don't see that playing much different. Right. I'm excited for the story. I think that's going to go some weird places, but. I don't see it really expanding upon its gameplay. Gran Turismo is Gran Turismo. Like,
you gotta have
it's
a tech
exciting,
demo.
But
every console needs a tech demo.
But I mean, like, I think about jumping back to that Nintendo story, the interview with Nikkei. Like, Splatoon 3 is more exciting to me than if you announced a new Mario game.
Correct.
Right?
You're right.
Yeah.
And better yet, if you announce something else, another like a brand new IP, that I would say in ways is more exciting to me than Breath of the Wild 2, than Splatoon 3, than Mario whatever, than Metroid Prime 4 even, and you know where I'm at with that, right? Like, to me, like, seeing new ideas come out of Nintendo means that they're investing in that stuff, and that's way more exciting. Like, I know that Knack got like dumped on a lot, but like Knack was a new idea that was accurately like testing the hardware and showcasing the hardware for what the PS4 could do, right? Because I think like for obvious reasons it got dunked on, but the hardware was so much more capable on the PS4 and so much more easy for developers to develop on coming from a PC background or a cross-platform background that it was a great technical showpiece and something that you'd want out of the launch of a console. That, you know, now they do the Astro's Playroom stuff, which also works for that, but like you don't see risks like Knack anymore. But that is far more exciting to me than.
Well, I mean, you're like right there. You're talking about Knack, but think about like what the best game on PS4 was for the first year. It was Resogun.
Yeah, you know, it was a small title by not a first party studio, but something that they took a risk on, and I don't know.
And it was PlayStation Plus, so if you got the fucking subscription, you could play it for free. Look, wow, imagine.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. Imagine if PlayStation Now was advertised and they said you can play The Last of Us. Then they wouldn't have to remake it at all. Anyway, that's a lot of Sony news and a lot of continual, just bad headlines for Sony these last couple weeks. So we're going to take a break, collect ourselves, and when we come back, we're going to hit you with another round of PlayStation Network recommendations, followed by a little bit more of news and what we've been playing. Right after this. Welcome back from the break. It's time for us to make more recommendations for video games you should pick up on the PlayStation Network before the PlayStation Network is taken offline for the PS3, Vita, and PSP. Matt, you want to start us off this week?
Yeah, after we joked, someone posted the Sony story in Discord, and we were joking mostly about that Last of Us remake, and I said they should, before reading articles, said about Uncharted should have been the one remade. I jokingly said they should remake Fight for Fortune, but then that made me remember that there is a game of Uncharted on the PlayStation Vita. Uncharted Golden Abyss. Look, not my favorite Uncharted game. Probably not even my favorite Vita game, but it's part of the core Uncharted collection, and there's no place else to play it.
No, it was Sony Bend. It was a launch title for the Vita. I mean, that was, when I think of Vita, I think of Uncharted Golden Abyss. So yeah, I think that's a great recommendation. I think you can get a cart of that if you want to, but, support the network, feed the servers, let them know new money can be put into these things.
And let them know that Naughty Dog needs to make more Uncharted games, Jim. Right?
Oh yeah, I guess. Don't buy that one then. Mark.
I'm going to say Final Fantasy IV.
Oh, that's such a good... Yes.
We have, ports of these games everywhere, but the way that PlayStation handled it, I think is by far the best way to enjoy this game. They redid the sprites into kind of their own style, and it doesn't look bad to me. Actually, I like that a lot, and it's I like it more than the 3DS version for sure, which is what is kind of ported everywhere now. So, plus it comes with the After Years. I know a lot of people don't like the After Years, which is, follow-up sequel, obviously, to that game. But to get a full package and just everything that it offers, I think that is probably the best way to experience that game. And it's kind of sad that, it's kind of just only there.
Yeah, no, that was when I got the PSP Go. That was one of the first games I bought and played on it. Was or was it? I think I played Origins first, but yeah, Final Fantasy IV. That complete collection is easily the best way to play that. I think honestly, the PSP is so good for Final Fantasy games, or Vita. If you have either one, I think that. Everything between the PS1 stuff and what's on PSP. Eventually, we got a localized version of FF3. That it was the DS version, brought to PSP in Japan only, and then finally came here. And I think that is also the best way to play 3. Yeah, that's super good. Super good. So mine started out with I was very excited to share this game, and then I looked it up, and I believe it's delisted. So I'm going to say it. If you can find it, do it. I don't think you can buy it anymore, though. But it's called World Gone Sour. It is a side-scrolling, couple levels, platformer featuring the Sour Patch Kids.
I knew it.
And there is as one of the bonus features, there is a music video featuring Method Man. So, highly enjoyable video game there, but I think it might be delisted. So I instead recommend this week for the PlayStation Vita. They did do a PS4 version of this, but you should buy the Vita version because that's where it came first, and I was very excited for this game back when it launched. Escape Plan. This comes from the same developers that brought you Fat Princess, which I don't know if we've talked about also in part of our recommendations, but Fat Princess was a really, really fun local multiplayer. I think online as well, but I remember I had a lot of fun local multiplayer with Fat Princess. But Escape Plan, it's kind of like a one of those Joseph Fares games, except you're doing it all by yourself, where you control Lil and Large, and it's this kind of stark black and white environment. And you control them through different puzzle levels and things like that. And when I think of Vita, I think of I think of three things. I think of Uncharted, Mod Nation Racers, and Escape Plan. But Escape Plan is my recommendation for the week. Get out there and get you some. We'll be back next week with more PlayStation Network recommendations as we march inevitably toward the future. In the meantime, I picked up Gran Turismo 5. I had the disc a long time ago, lent it, never got it back, wanted to play it. There it is. Bought it. I thought about, honestly, I was like, maybe I'll buy Sport. And I was like, oh no, wait, Sport's not a good game. That had all those weird rules about when you can bump into people and there's only events of it. I was like, no. So I grabbed Gran Turismo 5. I've learned that the servers have since been taken offline, so a lot of the things that you could do in that game you can't do, like, race online or get trophies for sharing things. So I will never get a platinum in this game.
Damn. But
no big deal there. But I'm having fun with Gran Turismo 5. It's I was playing a little bit of the PSP version as well, to kind of get my feet wet while I waited on this. And playing this one, it's not unlike the recent adoration of Forza Horizon 4 when that dropped. Playing through that, I had a fun time with that. But Gran Turismo 5, Gran Turismo is to me like Forza's great, but it's still, to me, Forza's doing on Xbox what they wish they could have in Gran Turismo, right? Gran Turismo is still the original to me. And yeah, like I said last week, I kind of got it because I just wanted to drive around a CRX and have yet to obtain a CRX in the game. But I still had my original save file in there from last time I played GT5. And so I had some of the races completed, but not, there's a couple things. So the way they break it out is you have 7 different categories. You have levels, beginner, intermediate, professional, expert, whatever. And in each of those, there's different race types, and you can only do specific race types if you have the corresponding vehicle. So it might be Japanese classics, and you have to have a Japanese manufactured car from before 1969 or something, or 79. Or it might be American trucks, and you have to have an American truck. So I've been able to complete some of them, but not all of them because I haven't had the appropriate vehicle. So I think I'm starting to get to the point where I need to replay some races just to get money so that I can buy cars I need for the other races. But I do have a Camaro that I don't remember buying, but I have it. And
what year?
69. It's yellow with black stripes. And I guess back when I had played this last, I tuned that Camaro to be a drag strip car. So it's great for drag races, quarter mile at a time. However, not great for the All-American Classics multi-lap thing that I've done. So, because I had it tuned so that it stays straight. So turns, handling's awful. You sacrifice certain things for others. And it also is great at getting from, the 0 to 60 very quickly. But it tops out at 116 and then the red line bounces because it's not, when you're tuning it for the drag strip, you just need to get a quarter mile as quickly as you can, not worry about maintaining a top speed, or slowly increasing that top speed. So I'd find that I'd get in first place really quickly. And then as the race goes on, I would just get lapped. And I was playing one map and I had a little Honda Integra. Good handling. I, fell back into how Gran Turismo wants you to race a car versus, an arcade style thing. And I felt like I did pretty good. Then I switched and do this American Classics, and I got the 69 Camaro with awful handling, topping out at 116. And the best I could do is I had to resort to the old, I don't know how to play Gran Turismo tricks. Let's wait till we get to a nice curve coming up. Let's not hit the brake. Let's use all of the other cars to make the turn and send them off. So if you look at the replay footage of this race, I won, but boy, did I do it in my own way. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, something about Gran Turismo and just the light jazz that plays and just getting a car, changing the paint color. It's just something so calming about it. Like I woke up this morning and I was like, let me just go play some Gran Turismo. Like I just had a cup of coffee. It was like an easy morning. You know what I mean? Just a good time.
Some of my favorite atmospheres in video games are from racing games. They just some just know how to set the mood.
They really do, man. It's super, super good. So yeah, I don't know how long my fascination with this will continue, but it's been a nice, like, before bed I'll play a little bit on PSP, and then now that I've got Gran Turismo 5, I'm having a good time with that on PS3. Mark, you jumped into another throwback from the past, Sabotin Bombers.
Yeah.
This recently released Hamster Arcade Archives. Tell us about, one, what is this game, and B, why?
So, it is it's an old arcade game from 1992. Kind of like a Bubble Bobble-esque situation where it's like one screen, per stage, and you are a cactus going around throwing bombs at other enemies and plants and bugs, and they're throwing bombs back. But the weird thing about it is, like, you can, if you throw a bomb at an enemy, it just doesn't explode upon impact. They get caught in it like a wheel, and they're bouncing around the stage for a little bit until it explodes. And you can be caught in your own bomb if it bounces back at you, but you can jump out of it. And enemies can jump out of it too if they're smart enough. So, like, they can throw bombs at you, you throw them at them, they die, they drop food, you collect the food. It's like some vegetables, fruit, and whatever. There's also cake, but with the cake specifically, if you get all 8 slices, it gives you an extra life. A weird little trick with this, it was, well, before that, I bought the game because I went on Instagram and just randomly scrolling, and I follow Hideki Kamiya, and he uploaded some photos of him buying the game, and I was like, what is this? And recently I've been in a weird obsession with like cactus and like desert scenery. I think it's kind of always been there, but it's more prominent now. So I was like, all right, little cactus dude, let's go for it. Let's see what's up here. Then I just ended up getting like a little addicted to it, and it was pretty fun. I was curious on how many stages there were because I think I got past 50. And then I found out that there's like a little over 100. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Because with this game, yes, like you throw bombs at people, clear the stages, rinse, lather, repeat. And then there's boss fights every 10 stages. I have no freaking clue how to really do these because you can't throw your bombs high up. You can only throw them forward, or if you're crouched, you can drop them straight down. But you have to but you just can't stay crouched and drop them. You have to stand up, crouch again, drop. It's just weird, and I die a lot, but I have infinite credits, so who cares? Start over. But the thing I cut myself off from earlier, if you die in a stage, yeah, you have lives and you just come back, but you drop this, I don't know what it is. It's like I don't know if it's like a blue flower or like a flower petal or something. If you go back to where you dropped your stuff when you died and you collect that blue petal thing, it kills everybody on the screen. And then you can go pick up all that food and then move on. Or at least it kills that wave, because sometimes there's more enemies that just won't appear on screen yet until you get rid of the ones that are currently there. Boss fights, they're just super tough for me to figure out right now. I just don't figure out their rhythms and whatever, and they kill me. But if you go back into it after a game over, it gives you the option to just immediately kill them. You don't have to pick it up, but I do every time because I'm not going to stand here and waste my time with it. I just thought that was just a weird feature. They're like, all right, you know what? Yeah, we were too hard. Here you go. Easy mode.
That's part of the hamster addition to this, or was that in the original arcade release?
The original arcade release.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like they're sorry for taking your quarters, but at the same time, They're
Give us
not.
more quarters. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's just that there's not much else to it. The backgrounds were kind of funny because it's like the owner of the house leaves, and then you and then a potential player too, which is a red cactus, jump out of your little flower pots and you just go and destroy things that are like as small or as big as you, which is other plants and bugs. But the backgrounds are always like a weird, like, it's not really a JPEG, but it just reminds me of a JPEG of like, here's a garage, here's a kitchen, here's a bathroom. So like, oh, it's quirky. It's just a very, very weird game.
Do you know who the original developer was?
Tecmo.
Oh, wow, okay. There's so many arcade... I found that out, like, playing more with the Mister, about how many weird old arcade games there were that just completely unaware of. Like,
yeah.
You get so used to kind of what companies put out, and I think a lot of the stuff that gets, like, re-released obviously gets attention, but stuff like this just gets lost.
It's like if Bomberman was just, like, forced into a Bubble Bobble situation, and this was, like, the best they could do.
That sounds cool. It's like $8 on Switch?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's also on PS4.
Nice. You got halfway through that one, but I'm wondering, question of the week here, before we slip into our little final lap, but what was the last game you guys finished? And I ask this because Archipel, the documentary YouTube series, they previously did an interview with Toshihiro Nagoshi, the producer behind the Yakuza games, and as part of being a Patreon to them, they released like the text interview with Nagoshi. I don't want to... You should go sign up for their Patreon if you want to support them and read more stuff like that. But one quote that came out of that interview that I thought was interesting is that Nagoshi said that about 15 years ago he had ran a survey about a game that was performing very well overseas, meaning here, and the results said that around 70% of players had not seen the ending. And he was shocked that so many people hadn't seen the end of a game that was so popular. So it made me think, like, what was the last game that I finished? And I think for me it was Resident Evil 3, the remake. But I did think about it. I looked at my Xbox achievements are back in the app now on iOS. At least for me. I know they're like slowly rolling it out to all players, but they finally hit for me. And I looked at like my list, and like, granted, some of the recent ones I've played on Xbox are Game Pass games that I had played on other platforms already. So I jumped back in and then went, like Doom Eternal, Nier Automata. I've already beaten them, and I kind of was like, I want to play that again. And you kind of scratch the itch and move on. But I looked at like, I don't have a very high completion rate for a lot of games, and it made me think like, do I do that? Do I buy a lot of games or do I start a lot of games and never finish them? And I was like, what was the last thing I actually finished? And I finished Resident Evil 3 and 7 pretty much back to back. But what about you guys? What was the last thing you finished? Saw the ending.
I think I'm pretty good with starting a game and usually seeing it through. For me, I think the last one I finished was Metal Gear Revengeance.
Oh yeah, you did, yeah. Mark?
Wario World.
Oh, nice. You wrapped that up from the GameCube one. Nice.
Yep, 100%.
Whoa.
Got every spriteling, every treasure, every gem.
How hard was that to do?
Not that hard. I mean, like, the last stage was a little ridiculous with their minigame puzzles, so it was like platforming puzzles. It was getting just a little bit frustrating, but I'm glad it ended around there, because it was starting to overstay its welcome.
Right.
But yeah, felt good.
Do you guys feel like you have more games left unfinished than finished?
Definitely.
I mean, of course, but like I started that Doom DLC, haven't really gone back to it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of things that I just never start, or I barely start. But like once I get into something, I usually finish it, because I'm like thinking about it. Like, all right, I finished Hitman 3, at least like the ending. I didn't go through all the escalation protocols or whatever. I saw the ending to Yakuza. 100% of Miles Morales, Demon Souls. I
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. Like, if I get over a certain point, I will stick with it. But it's those things where I play the first level or tutorial or something, and then it doesn't grab me, that I'm like, meh.
Like, there's games I care about that I still want to finish, so I haven't deleted them from my hard drive or anything yet. So, like, that's my reason to, like, if I need more space, I gotta play the game. Unless I just absolutely do not give a shit. But, like a certain mood will strike. I want to get in that mood and, like, embrace it, and then something else pops up. I'm like, well, shit, that took all my attention away. I'll put you on a back burner, and then it just stays there for like 2 years.
Yeah, I have a lot of this. I did finish this week, though, the #1 selling game in Japan right now, Monster Hunter Rise.
Whoa.
Although I'm far from finished. I played through, so I think I described it before, but Monster Hunter Rise, you have village quests and you have hub quests. And the village quests are the ones that are like the single player, where there's like a light story that plays out with cutscenes and things. And then there's the hub quests, or the gather, whatever they are. Those are the online where you're actually hunting with other strangers or team up with friends and whatever. And if you've seen the cover of Monster Hunter Rise, there's a monster called Magnamalo. It's like a big, I don't know, on 4 legs, looks kind of like a lion in a way. But you have to fight him for one of these village quests, and I did, and then right after I did, it went to a cutscene that was like, "You saved us," and then the credits rolled. It was more than that. There was a whole song and everything, but that was basically the gist of it. And then credits rolled, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And you go back, and you still have more quests to do, and you're like, "But now your work's just begun." Like, of course. But I once doing that, and I had already been doing some of the like multiplayer stuff. I'm finally in high rank, so there's low rank hunts, now there's high rank hunts, and I'm working my way through those, and now you have a whole new set of gear and weapons and things like that, and I'm finally starting to get to some of the cooler weapons. So I switched to dual blade instead of the longsword, and there's one that I'm chasing the parts for, but it's I think maybe I talked about it last week, but it's the bunny dongo that you get to eat, but you can make a weapon out of it and just beat people with it. So you have one in each hand. There's that, and then I'm also trying to craft, to go back to longsword, I'm trying to craft a really cool looking scythe that has like rad looking stuff. So yeah, that should be fun. But so far it's sticking. We'll see how long it lasts, but I feel like I'm into this more than I was into World. I'm at about 30 hours. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw people on my friends list with 100 hours. So I don't know how they got 100 hours in just barely 2 weeks. But B, I know there's at least a tail to this game, which is exciting.
Question about the Switch.
Yeah.
If you go to the home screen and you don't close out of the game, does that count as hours logged into the game?
I think... no. But I don't know. I think if you put it into sleep mode, it definitely doesn't. But if it's just kind of hanging out and you have the home screen open, maybe? Because it is still technically running. You just have it in the background at the moment. But I think once it hits sleep mode, definitely that won't count.
Okay.
Yeah. The one thing about Switch that I've come to appreciate this week is, like, it sounds so duh, but the versatility of it, man. Like, the fact that I can, like, it's become kind of habit. Like, I close out my work day and then I go over and hang out and just play like 30, 40 minutes, do a couple hunts before I got to go make dinner and whatever else. And then I'll slip back to it in the night. But like playing it on a big TV, beautiful and everything, and it still looks great on the TV through the Switch. But then also, like, I can just sit and watch TV and also play handheld, or, use the other Switch that we've got. Like, just that versatility of Switch makes it's so easy to play a game, especially like Monster Hunter. But yeah, I'm still having fun. I'm happy to have like a big thing on Switch, because I feel like the last time I had that was like Hyrule Warriors 2, but nothing really since then. I know you guys got into Super Mario 3D World a little bit, which was the number 2 bestseller in Japan. But yeah, I did find that Famitsu thing interesting. In the top 30 of the last week of sales, only 2 entries were not games for Nintendo Switch. And those were Outriders, both 2 entries. Outriders for PS4 at number 9 and Outriders for PS5 at number 20. But just to put it into perspective, like Monster Hunter Rise sold 277,000 copies last week, which was the number 1 seller. The number 2 was 27,000. Number 3 was 16,000, down to 12, 11, 10, 9, 9, 6, 6. Monster Hunter Rise is selling exceptionally well, especially in Japan. But just kind of looking at hardware and software, like you can see that it is a Nintendo swinging generation, which is a shift from where we were. Because before, you saw things like Vita and PS4 dominate last generation, and now it seems to be switched this time around over there. So I don't know, man, that goes back into that stuff from before of like, if Nintendo makes the right move to kind of take a little bit more of that lunch, they might have the whole meal. We'll see how things shake out. But first, let's see how things shake it with Wario Land Shake It as the Wario journey continues, Mark.
Yeah, like I almost forgot this game existed, which is sad. Because I finally remember when I used to work at GameStop, this game would always be on, and I would kind of get sick of it. Because, at that point, I just wasn't really into, Wario games that much, outside of, 2 WarioWare games, probably, because I just played them with friends. But I think, at that point, I wasn't quite into the Wii either, so I was just kind of just a little prick. But now, decided to try and play and give it a shot and see how it fares with everything. And I didn't realize this was by the I think they're called the Feel Good company or whatever, who did Yoshi's Woolly World or whatever.
Yeah, yep.
Good Feel.
Thank you. Yeah, I was like, all right, this makes sense. I love the art style. I love that it's like hand-drawn animation for Wario and whatever. The whole theme around it. There's this overlord, or there's this bad pirate, and captured some princess. So your one other pirate friend, she's I forget her name. But she's like a, pirate lady. And turns out, I think it's a callback to an old Mario comic that she was in from early 90s or something like that. I don't know. I just thought that was cool. But she convinces you to hey, if you go save this princess, you can get all this treasure along the way. And then we can split the riches and blah, blah, blah. So greed is still Wario's main incentive. So she gives you a map to the first area of this world to go traverse, and each region has 4 stages and a boss fight. And it plays kind of similar to Wario Land 4 on GBA, except you're not really as transformative. Enemies affecting you doesn't really solve a puzzle exactly. It's weird gimmicks or mechanics throughout the stage kind of just helps you traverse, and that is your way of kind of going through stuff, hitting switches or just busting blocks or something, not necessarily turning into a zombie or getting bloated and stuff like that. So yeah, of course, the whole main gimmick is shaking things because the Wii remote. So you play with the Wii remote horizontal, and if you see a bag of money, grab it, shake all the coins out of it, and try to pick it up before that disappears. The music feels a little uninspired for a Wario game. It's not it's not funky like Wario World. It's not kooky or like that weird fun out of place element like Wario Land 4 or like WarioWare. Like it's
there's
just
like Funhouse vibes.
Yeah, it's like it's good, but it's just a nice produced kind of like, I don't want to say generic, but it's something you would expect out of like other platformers to have, but not Wario. I don't know. It doesn't fit Wario's personality to me, but it's not bad. A lot of the puzzles are kind of interesting, but yeah, like you go through, you have to save another like spriteling type creature. And of course, when that happens, it's similar to Wario Land 4, where you have a timer and you have to escape, which is fine. And which is my complaint before, was the lack of screen size to see where I could traverse and go to collect treasures while getting that to leave, because like the pressure of time of trying to leave and stuff. So it fixes that. I'm not too inclined to get all the treasure in these levels. I'm kind of just going through it just to go through it to see if I like really enjoy this game, and then if I want to go back, then I'll try to be a completionist, I guess. But the stages are fairly simple. Nothing's really too challenging. They are slowly introducing new mechanics, because a lot of it, you have this new attack where if you shake the Wiimote, Wario punches the ground. And if that happens, anything that has like an exclamation point icon usually means you have to punch the ground for this to take effect. So if there's like a wall in your way with that symbol on it, punch the ground, the wall goes up. Then you can go through. Or if you want to jump on top of it, punch the ground, it will lift you up as a platform. I've even had a part where you jump and hit a block, and it summons this like unicycle cart. So like it's like one wheel with like a weird bowl on top. You hop into the bowl, and then you have to tilt the Wii remote to kind of go back and forth with it, and you can jump up on other rails to traverse to something. There are poles that Wario can grab, and if you shake the Wii remote, he starts spinning, and then you can do flips up to other ones, kind of like a gymnast. And that's cool, because like when he actually lands on the ground, he'll like put his hands up in the air, and you see his belly jiggle a little bit.
Do you feel like the motion stuff is like it feels natural, or does it feel like shoehorned in just for the sake of it being there?
It kind of feels natural. I'm not mad at it. I don't mind it, because like you don't have to do it every single second when you're like playing the game. It's they try to use all of Wario's features still, and like yeah, like shaking the bags is probably a little unneeded in my opinion. Like I think you should just be able to just pick up a bag and go. But it's fine. Like it's not too bad. It makes you think. It challenges you a little bit in that way, on like when to when to traverse a certain way and whatnot. Yeah, so I think in Japan it's called the Shake Dimension, and it's weird. Yeah, because it is weird, because like the world that you're going in. Excuse me, I feel like I'm about to sneeze, and it's like right there. You know. Yeah, like you have this telescope, and you're looking at this globe. It's just a standard as globe. And then you get sucked into that telescope, which I guess transports you to that globe. So I guess that's the shake dimension. But after you, there it is again. Sorry. After you beat the boss, throughout all these stages, throughout each world, you have a cumulative wallet. Because you have to, you can buy things from the pirate girl has a shop, and you have to buy the next region to progress. So you have to keep buying maps from her, and you can buy potions. You can buy, like special feature stuff, which is like artwork or cutscenes or something, which just seems too rich for my blood, because that stuff is ridiculously expensive. And for the amount of coins I find in each level, I feel like I just don't find a lot. But I think you can go back.
Where like
and,
replayability comes into factor. But
like I think you can go back and visit them whenever, and probably just farm coins that way. But yeah, so far it's not too bad. I'm not feeling the Wario vibes from it, audibly and I guess some of the scenery and the enemies are like they're just kind of like on the bland side, but just being Wario himself and just seeing that art style is still keeping me going. So it's pretty cool overall.
This is the last like traditional Wario Land style thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a shame. They should do another one.
Or make an anime, because that's what it's making me want to like kind of like wish for.
Maybe Jim Ryan will revive it.
I said Don Matrick. I played a little bit of a game called Of Love and Eternity. There's a demo of it out now on itch.io for Mac, PC, and Linux. Not unlike Wario, well, very unlike Wario Land, but not unlike it in the sense that like there aren't many games like this out today. Like it feels like something pulled from time. It's an adventure game in the like action adventure game, but like it's very little action, but it's very much you start out, you are a knight and you witness like a king murdering your lover, and then as you fall down over her body, he murders you, and then it fades to black.
Oh.
You see the body of the guy that you know, it's all like a cutscene or whatever, like you have no control at this point, but then your body's floating through space and there's colors and weird stuff, and then eventually you return to your skeleton, still inside the armor. And then, so there's no meat left. You're just a walking pile of bones with like a flame burning in the middle. And the idea is that his soul has been tormented from dying in such a harsh way. Now he's returned and he needs to go save his love because she is stuck in that same eternal hell of, you know, being killed in an unexpected way. So I think the idea is that you're wandering through this world trying to find her. But so far, it's just been kind of wandering through the woods, seeing what you can find. The one mechanic I've really discovered so far is there's a lantern you get, and you light the lantern by collecting fireflies to put in there, which is kind of cute. But the look and the art direction of it all looks like a PS1 game, but it's made in Unity, so it has a little bit more fluidity to it. You know, it doesn't feel as rigid as a PS1 game, but it has a very old school art style that I really dig. So I'm going to keep poking at the demo a little bit. I think the game itself is due out proper this year, but it's, I think, worth a look if you're looking for something a little bit weirder paced. But something about it, like I'm kind of like, as I'm going, we've been talking about all these PSN recommendations and things. I know that Matt had talked a while back about going through the From library from way back when, and playing this has me curious about like Kingsfield or Shadow Tower, one of those styled games. I might take a dip. I don't know what the week brings for me yet. I do know that WrestleMania happened last night.
Last 2 nights.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. And according to WWE, wrestling fans, or WWE 2K fans, should have tuned in. And boy, did that game look exciting.
No.
That I guess maybe we'll talk about that one next week. It's too much to really comprehend right now after seeing it all.
Just the whole 2 nights is so much that we're overwhelmed by Roman Reigns winning the belt.
Wow, yeah, he sure didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe The Rock showed up to promote his energy drink, though. Like, that was kind of a cheap sellout move, but, you know, what are you going to do?
You gotta, I mean, yeah. Vince McMahon, the advertising money. The Rock, the people's champion.
Tastes like a whole chicken.
Game sponsored by Zoe Energy, too. That's pretty wild.
There it is. Yeah, that game was probably announced this weekend, but we are recording before it happens. We're also recording before this happens, but you, listener, have not seen it yet either. The Resident Evil Showcase, scheduled for April 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern. For more on, I assume, Village and Resident Evil the series. What are you guys hoping for out of this? A little bit more reverse excitement?
I was going to say cancel that multiplayer game, but yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
beta's out now.
Yeah, and they took it down because of
watched,
matchmaking issues.
yeah. I watched when that first came out. I watched Michael Huber from Easy Allies play it. It's actually not that bad. It was a bad trailer, but playing the game, it's actually like 60 frames, and the combat isn't too bad. I still wouldn't play it, but
but better than you thought. Yeah.
but yeah, like it actually runs and
It
plays
works,
better than what the
unlike
trailer
Umbrella
did. Yeah.
Corps.
Yeah. It's a small step above. But I mean, I definitely expect the next Village demo to drop for everybody, not just a PS5 exclusive.
Yeah.
And
that should be good.
Hopefully some kind of trailer for the movie. That would be cool.
Yeah, trailer of the movie. I want to see something for the 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
Maybe bring those PS1 games to platforms that aren't getting their stores shut down soon.
I want to see more of that lady's underwear.
Well, have I got a subreddit for you?
They revealed her shoe size recently.
What is this?
I forget the size, but it's apparently bigger than Shaq's feet.
Of course it is. Yeah, it makes sense. It's like Japan's always been sexually,
Charged.
a little bit more like. What'd you say?
Charged?
Well, I think that's the thing.
Aren't
Is
we
like,
all?
I think America is very prude when it comes to a lot of that stuff. Where, not that it's like widely accepted in other places, but it's just, I don't know. It's not as taboo. But what I'm saying is, I'm happy to see that everyone is publicly embracing their horniness now, and we could all come together for this gigantic, tall vampire lady. We've not seen such fervor since the days of Bouette or Bowsette.
It was Bouette, I thought.
It's both.
Oh God,
Bowsette started.
kicked off the fun, but yeah,
that was just uncomfortable because their childhood memories morphed into that.
that's
Welcome to the internet.
Yeah. Besides checking out cool cosplayers, what are you guys getting into this week?
Well, Mark will continue his trek through Night City, becoming
That Mark. Yes, of course.
continuing his dominance with his ninja blade or some kind of melee weapon that cuts off limbs. So,
Do you think you'll get through the main campaign of that this week?
I don't know, because there's other stuff I do want to play. I was just about to mention. The first elusive target has launched proper for Hitman 3. I want to see that through. I kind of want to run through that level one more time before I start it, because it's a one and done deal, as they always are. That was the cool murder mystery mansion level. They're throwing the elusive target in, so I'm curious to see what they do with that. And then I never got to it, but that Soulstorm. Yeah, what's the title proper?
Yeah, Oddworld.
Oddworld. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never got to that. I still want to try that.
I was staring at Munch's Odyssey on my PS3 yesterday, thinking about that. I don't know. Mark, playing more Wario Land Shake It, I assume?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do a little more and see how I feel about it, if I want to continue with it or not. The rest, who knows? Something always pops up when I least expect it.
Yeah, I'm getting into that realm now. Like, I've been having fun exploring some of these other libraries. I kind of fell off Alundra this week because I hit a wall with the puzzles in Alundra are a little esoteric, and or maybe not esoteric. They're obtuse, or maybe I am. I don't know, but they. I want to get back to Alundra, but I don't know that I will. And yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, Monster Hunter has been a good constant, but Monster Hunter it's the same thing every time, which is a good thing because combat really does feel good in that game. So I feel like excited when I'm hunting, but you kind of do like, well, I mean, it depends. I can do like 5 hunts in a row and still feel ready to do 5 more, but there's days where I'm like, all right, I'm good. What else do I got? And that's where I'm like, I can't find that other thing right now, and I'm going through a bit of option paralysis. So we'll see. We'll see what we get. Yeah, that is it for us. We'll be back next week. Man, we are marching toward 400 here. But as we get closer and closer, we'll be back with more video games, more news, more things, more celebrations of the best of the PlayStation Network. Until then, you can follow us on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at SomeFreeCheese. Mark is at AUG_mental. Matt at MattyAce131. TheFreeCheese.com is a website. Podcast at TheFreeCheese.com is an email address. Send us your PlayStation Network recommendations, and we'll read them on the air. Of course, ask us anything, and we will answer it. That's it. Mark, what's the final word?
17.3 inches or 44 centimeters is Lady Dimitrescu's shoe size.